Hey everybody, I'm so excited because today starts our unit of Flat Stanley. So we're going to use this not only as read alouds, but we're also going to read this together in our Reading Google Meets. Flat Stanley is a great way for us to kickstart on literature circles. So after Christmas break, we'll actually be reading different books based on what group that you're in. But for now, everybody's going to be reading the book Flat Stanley. And everyone should also have a Flat Miss Mallory. So you'll take Flat Miss Mallory on different adventures and you'll get to do different writing prompts about her, but it has to do with this book. Now, based on the pictures, what do you think this book is? Do you think this book is fiction or nonfiction? You're right, it is fiction. I know that we started our unit of nonfiction and looking at the main idea of nonfiction text, but I thought we need a read aloud in there. We need a little fiction, a little fake stories. So we're going to be reading Flat Stanley. And I found it on Epic, so I thought that's even better than me reading it from here because you guys can follow along with me. So Flat Stanley, His Original Adventures by Jeff Brown, pictures by Mackie Pemintune. Let me make sure I spell this right. Say this right. Pemintwine. I went ahead and Googled it. Pemintwine. Pictures by Mackie Pemintwine. Chapter 1, The Big Bulletin Board. Breakfast was ready. I will go wake the boys, Mrs. Lambchop said to her husband, George Lambchop. Just then, their younger son, Arthur, called from the bedroom he shared with his brother, Stanley. Hey, come and look! Hey! Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop were both very much in favor of politeness and careful speech. Hay is for horses, Arthur, not people, Mr. Lambchop said as they entered the bedroom. Try to remember that. Excuse me, Arthur said, but look! He pointed to Stanley's bed. Across it lay the enormous bulletin board that Mr. Lambchop had given the boys a Christmas ago that they could pin up pictures and messages and maps. It had fallen during the night on top of Stanley. But Stanley was not hurt. In fact, he would still have been sleeping if he had not been woken up by his brother's shout. I know if a bulletin board fell on me, I'd definitely wake up. What's going on here? He called out cheerfully from beneath the enormous board. Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop hurried to lift it from the bed. Heavens, said Mrs. Lambchop. Gosh, said Arthur, Stanley's flat. As a pancake, said Mr. Lambchop. Darnest thing I ever seen. Right here it says Stanley's flat, and he finishes it with as a pancake. Look at that key word, as. So we have Stanley being compared to a pancake, and it's using that key word as. So what is this? A simile. You are correct. So the dad is using a simile to compare how flat Stanley is. Let's all have breakfast, Mrs. Lambchop said. Then Stanley and I will go see Dr. Dan and hear what he has to say. In his office, Dr. Dan examined Stanley all over. How do you feel? He asked. Does it hurt very much? I feel sort of tickly for a while after I got up, Stanley Lambchop said, but I feel fine now. Well, that's mostly how it is with these cases, said Dr. Dan. We'll just have to keep an eye on this young fella, he said when he had finished the examination. Sometimes we doctors, despite all our years of training and experience, can only marvel at how little we really know. Mrs. Lambchop said she thought Stanley's clothes would have to be altered by the tailor now. So Dr. Dan told his nurse to take Stanley's measurements. Mrs. Lambchop wrote them down. Stanley was 4 feet tall, about a foot wide, and half an inch thick. Y'all, that's like this thick. I mean, he's about as wide as, he's not much wider than this book. So he's super flat. And 4 foot tall is pretty close to how tall you guys are, maybe a little bit shorter. And a foot wide is how wide you are this way. So he's average there, but he's really flat. I mean, he's about the size of a book. Chapter 2. Now, this is what we're going to read together in the Reading Google Meets next week. So it's really important that you don't miss that so that you know what you're supposed to do. Hope you enjoyed Chapter 1. I hope your schema is running wild. I can't wait to finish this story with you.